Hi there and welcome to Real Life in Real Estate. I'm Mark Peebles here to help you live your best life and achieve ultimate success. Back again with my co-host, Natalie Correa. What's up, Natalie?
I'm excited to be here. We have round two of Real Life in Real Estate Questions with Mark.
Last week was fun.
Yeah,
honestly,
it was fun.
I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to your questions. Reminder of our format, in case you didn't listen to last week, and go back and listen to last week.
Yeah.
But Natalie has 20 questions for me, dealing with real life, dealing with real estate, and she is running through the questions. I didn't get to see them in advance.
No.
So this is off the cuff. So if I pause and am like, well, it's real.
That's okay.
She's asking them. I have to think about these things.
We want raw, real, genuine stuff here. We don't want it to ever be. Of course, Mark is really great about like getting his details before he comes in. When he's here, we have everything written down, ready to go before we start a shoot. And but I like this style because we can really see some like genuine, really have some good conversation, talk about some stuff. And our theme last week, which will probably continue to be the theme because it's a lot about how you do your business, but it's relationships.
Yeah, and that wasn't planned.
No, it wasn't.
You found, actually, Natalie found that common thread throughout my answers that it just ended up being relationships. So I love that. Go back and listen to last week, though.
Yes, please, because we might reference some stuff from last week. So definitely go and check it out. Of course, you guys know all of our different platforms, but you're probably on some type of podcast platform now or on YouTube. We have it all. So check it out. Make sure you can follow us,
if you're on YouTube,
and turn on the bell.
Yeah, if you're watching this at YouTube, turn on the bell, like and subscribe at It's Mark Peebles if you're looking for it.
Yeah.
Or Real Life in Real Estate, wherever you get your podcast.
Yeah, Real Life in Real Estate, you'll be able to see that. So
cool.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm excited.
So is this number 11? Is this the 11th?
This is question number 11.
She asked me 10 last week.
Yeah, and we're kind of like talking about your skills, maybe some system stuff, just like we're in real estate here.
Yep.
We're diving into real estate stuff. So like how I know this, but I like this question because I want other people to hear what you have to say. Do you follow a daily or weekly routine to stay consistent? If you don't follow certain specific things, how do you stay consistent?
So that's the thing. Well, let me explain a little bit into the mind of Mark Peebles, okay? Because I want to be honest with you. I've never been a very strict routine person.
Yeah.
I've never been. Now, that said, this is literally something that I am making a concerted effort with in my life. So some of the things we're going to be talking about future weeks is deep work. This is something that has revolutionized my world. There's a whole book on deep work that I'm about to read. And then there's also Redeeming Your Time by Jordan Rayner is one that I just read that I'm like, okay, Mark Peebles, it's time to apply this stuff to my life.
Redeem your time or buy back your time?
I think it's redeem your time.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's redeem your time.
But we talk about buying back your time.
Yeah, so Jordan Rayner, he writes from a biblical perspective, and he looks at the life of Jesus and how Jesus protected his time in the Gospels.
Wow, so cool.
Jesus said no to things. You know, when Jesus needed to be with a different group of people, he shifted. And I'm like, he goes through these things to help you understand how to manage your time.
That's awesome.
And so it had a big impact on me, and I'm beginning to implement a lot of that into my life. Deep work being one of the big things that I've started doing. But here's the thing: restate how did you ask that question?
What do you follow a daily or weekly routine to stay consistent? But then I tagged onto it because I know you don't necessarily. What do you do to stay consistent?
So most important thing for me, one, I really need exercise. I think we covered this last time. I'm 45 years old. My kids are not married yet, but we've got weddings coming up. I want to be around to see my great-grandchildren, okay?
Yeah.
So I have to exercise. And so usually I get up in the morning. I go straight to the gym. I meet John Hennon. He's my business partner in Navex Realty. And he and I kind of encourage each other. We start our morning together in fellowship and get some exercise, get some workout in, okay? I try to come home. I try not to schedule myself right away. I have time to get into the Word then. I need to wake up before I start reading, and that's why I go to the gym first. I wake up, then I can read the word for the day.
Yeah.
And then I get to the office. Okay. I consistently try to start my day in the office. Doesn't happen every day. I get some things thrown in that throw my day off, but I do try to consistently be in the office every day. And the new thing that I'm doing is I'm actually trying to block 2 hours per day of deep work. So if I can't get that in the morning, my goal is to get it in the afternoon. Now, by deep work, that is an uninterrupted time. No one's knocking on the door. No one is, I'm not looking at text messages or taking phone calls.
Yeah.
I am focused on my project for the day, whether that's lead generation for my real estate business, whether it's new content for a class I'm teaching or podcast stuff. It is working specifically on those things, uninterrupted, undistracted, because every distraction puts you back by like 40 minutes. If you get distracted, if you break the focus, now you're put back. So that 2 hours is where I'm really getting consistent in my life right now. So, but normally, no, I'm not a super consistent person.
Yeah.
All right. So that's just me being honest.
Well, I think what's so cool is, you see, no matter where you are in your real estate business, you can apply some of these things to yourself. Like being able to set a couple different things. There's a hair floating around.
Was that your hair?
I don't know, but I threw it up.
Okay.
But setting a couple things consistently to be able to like just get good trajectory on your day. Give me an example of like today. You've had meetings all day. Came in straight into content. Where's your deep work? Are you counting content as deep work? What do you count?
So I have not been able to get deep work. Like I said, this is something new that I'm doing. So my calendar books out weeks in advance.
It does, yeah.
And that's where now I will actually begin to put 3 weeks from now all of my deep work in, what time of day that I'm going to do that. Now, there's some things that can throw that off. The way that I run my real estate sales business, there's things that can throw that off in terms of whether I'm teaching a class or traveling or I have, a NAVEX event because I run a real estate brokerage too, as you know. But like right now, I'm sitting on, this is about 30 pages here of inspection summary, a summary inspection report with a quote to fix it for $206,000, right? I've got a client coming in right after this. Right. I've got a client coming in right after this. Now, I've done some prep work. I need about 10 minutes before to quiet my mind, review what we're going to talk about so I don't miss anything, and then go into it. And I have learned to manage like this, but I think this is where deep work comes in to really help me lock in on things that I have to get done. So
yeah, that's great. Good to know. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next thing.
This is 11.
Yeah, I know. And we just spent so much time on that. What tools or systems do you rely on to manage your business? List a couple of them.
So we just started using Lofty. I'm using Lofty a lot. Biggest tool or system that I use that allows me to get so much done. You don't know what I'm going to say. Are you ready for this?
No.
Kelly Middleton. She's my transaction coordinator. Here's the deal.
She is the best TC.
Yeah, what I've learned is that I am not great at managing things, especially paperwork, and I have a lot of things on my plate. Running a company is one of them. Working in, actually still being in the trenches selling real estate. And because of that, in order for me to get more done and be more effective, I need someone taking the minutia of the transaction off of me.
Yeah.
Bar none, the most important thing that I've ever done is hire a great TC. And I've had 2 in a row great TCs that are super detail oriented. And in fact, both of them still work for our brokerage as well. Yeah. So, but that said, that's one thing really important to me. You may not be at that level yet, but learn to use your CRM to help manage things, to see where your transactions are. Dotloop, I love electronic signing. Everyone should be using that, but I prefer Dotloop. I've tried some of the other systems. And then for your emailing, I love BombBomb. I've talked about it all the time. No, they're not a sponsor of the show.
And there you go. Great. What's the biggest lesson that you have learned in real estate? That's a huge question. So maybe
that's really hard.
Take a moment and think. What's the biggest lesson you think you've learned in real estate?
Okay, early in my career, I'm gonna be brutally honest with myself and with you. So this is something that I may not share with everyone. Early in my career, when I was struggling a lot and or I was overwhelmed and someone would ask me, "Hey, Mark, you were supposed to send me something," I used to say, "Oh, that didn't go through," like that little white lie. And I became very convicted of that many years ago at this point, probably more than 10 years ago. I became very convicted that I was lying. Wow. So I made a decision that if I ever forgot anything, if I ever made a mistake, if I, did something I wasn't supposed to do, that I would fess up right away.
Yeah.
And it has carried me because I'll have agents call me and they'll say, "Hey, you said you're going to send such and such," or a client calls and says, "Hey, you were going to send such and such." And I say, "You know what? I totally forgot to do that. I'm very sorry. I will send that over to you." And then usually I'm picking up the phone saying, "Hey, Kelly, can you help me and send this over?" But here's what's helped that. I'm not good with the detail. And it was usually the detail that got me caught up. So what I found is that I need to hire people that can take care of the details so I can do what I'm great at.
There you go.
There you go. Biggest lesson I've learned.
That's good. That's good. What's one piece of advice that you always give to new agents?
Your list?
Yeah.
Did you know I was going to say it? Yeah, I'll tell you what. Because I truly hate seeing agents come into the business and then they flounder, they struggle, they don't know what to do. But the problem is they don't come in with a list. If you do not have a list of people that you can begin to consistently, systematically build relationships with, that you can market to, then this business gets very difficult, right? And so you need to start at least 100 people on your list. Try to get to 200, 250 to get your business started. Absolutely. And that will help launch you into being a great agent. But you have that before you get in the business, you should have a list. Can't start marketing to them until you're licensed, but you've got to get a list.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Most important advice I can give.
Totally agree with it. What was your biggest mistake that you made in the business, and what did it teach you? Maybe just like one mistake that you can think of that was like, and how did it help you grow?
I'll give the big picture mistake is in 2008, September 15th, 2008, I was sitting on a client's couch.
There we go. Now we get to talk about it.
Yeah, I was sitting on a couch, and I was holding a broker open house. I think 2 old ladies showed up that day. They were agents for the free sandwich or whatever, and I was watching the market crash. And I became, during that time, I had deals under contract that didn't close, but I went 7 months without any income in real estate. I was a breadwinner for my family, and I was full-time in the business, and I basically lost everything. But at that time, I mean, my dad has talked to me about this, as I've gotten past all of this. He said, "Sometimes, son, I just want to shake you and say, just keep going, But I near gave up because I was so defeated.
Yeah.
It's easy to get defeated. So hear me on this. Like, it's so easy in this business to get defeated. I think I talked about perseverance last week. You have to learn perseverance. I hope you never have to go through a 2008. I hope you don't ever have to feel that. It was painful. It was painful on many fronts for many agents. My dad sailed right through it. Why? Because he had great relationships.
Wow.
But I gave up. You can't give up. And so that's what I say. Biggest thing I learned is you can't give up.
Can't give up.
No matter what's happening around you, you've got to keep pressing ahead.
That's good. That's good. Thank you for sharing that. How do you handle rejection, dealing with deals falling through, things like that when that comes through, when business is happening, but then it just doesn't work out? Or people say, "I don't want to use you as my agent." Family members, friends, people like that. Like, how do you navigate those situations?
Cannot take it personal. So in my career, many times I saw my dad lose relationships because a past client didn't use him again, or a friend of his didn't use him, and there would be a break in the relationship. So I decided from the moment I came into the business that I would never lose a relationship over business. It's just not worth it to me. Yeah. And so I faced it many times in my career. Early on in my career, our best friends that we hung out with all the time. I get my license, and he's like, "Yeah, by the way, we're going to be selling our house." And I was like, "Oh, great. But we want you to know we're using another agent," right? And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, we continue to be friends," right? And I just decided that business was not going to come into play. Now, have I had situations that have really hurt? I have.
Yeah,
you know, I've had circumstances where someone that I thought we were really close, punched and said they were going to work with me, punches me in the gut, and I find out one day they bought a house with someone else. It really hurts. But honestly, is the $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, and actually, average sale prices have gone up, so it's more than that now. But is that amount of money, is any amount of money worth losing a friendship over? And I just don't think it is. So you have to learn to let rejection roll off. And let me say this. Sorry for the long answer, but if you really care about people, and I'm being the owner of a brokerage now, I have agents that I love, that I pour into, and I see them leave, and they go to other brokerages. And what I've learned is, I want them to be successful. And if they can be more successful at that other brokerage, then that's where they should go.
Absolutely.
And so for me, it's about the other people. If you care enough about the other people, you're not going to lose a relationship, and you genuinely desire their success.
Amen. That should apply to a lot of aspects of our lives.
It should.
It should. It absolutely should. Not everything is personal. They don't always mean it personally. So just continue to serve and love people. Good. Great. Love it.
Hey, you could have answered that.
I'm asking the questions today.
Okay.
Okay, don't ask me questions. We're not reversing this next week.
I'm going to next week. No.
Okay. Anyways, okay, here we go. This is a good one. What has been the most memorable deal or client experience you've had? Like, what's just something that was like helped you keep going, or is your why?
Marianne Smith is it's between two. Marianne Smith is one who forevermore, every time she would send me emails, she would sign it YFCE, your favorite client ever. And I loved Marianne, but I think more than that was Ned and Mary. Ned was the most cantankerous old man I had ever met. I met him going and showing a house for my dad. My dad said, "Hey, can you go show this listing for me?" I went and showed it. I met this couple. He could barely walk in. Basically tells me when we're there he hates realtors. Right? And like ultimately they had their house listed with someone else, but they said, "Well, we want to talk to you about listing our house." I was like, "Okay." So I go over there, tell him what I think. Basically tells me why I'm wrong, tells me why he hates realtors again, right?
Great, love it.
He was such a cantankerous old man, and his wife, Mary, was just the sweetest woman you've ever met in your life. And she was just so kind, and she was always like, "Ned, just be nice, just be nice." Like she was always trying to defend him. Well, they sold their house with me. We had tried to find them something else. They decided to go into assisted living. Ned calls me. About 3 months later, he said, "Mark, you've got to get me out of here." And and I was like, "Oh, okay, Ned, but you just moved in." He's like, "I can't stand it. We got to find a house." So I would go, I'd pick them up. I drove them around to see houses. They found one. During that process of us starting to look at houses again, I said something to Ned. I said, "Hey, remember how much you hate, real estate agents?" And he stopped and he said, "Mark, you're one of the finest people I've ever known."
Wow.
And that was, it always stuck with me that I just, I earned my way into a friendship with him.
Yeah.
We get a house under contract within a couple of weeks, and he has a stroke. He goes into long-term care. He's in a nursing home. He has to be the one to sign on all of the paperwork. Of course, Mary had to sign too, but Ned signs all of the paperwork. They move in, she moves into the house. He never lived in it. He passed away 2 weeks later, and his family asked me to be a pallbearer at his funeral. And it was one of the great honors of my life. It really was.
That's amazing.
A couple years later, Mary had to sell the house. She ended up with some dementia, and her family lived in Maryland. When I found out she passed away, I sent flowers. I couldn't be there, but I sent flowers to her funeral. And her son, out of the blue, in the last couple of years, who lives in Maryland, called me. He said, "Mark, I was just thinking about you today, and I want you to know how much I appreciate you caring for my parents when I wasn't there." And I don't know, I'll never forget it.
Yep.
You're going to have experiences like that in this business where you just, I mean, I love all my clients. I've been cussed out by clients that that my wife is like, you need to dump them. And I'm like, but I love them, you know?
love 'em.
But that's how it is. If you're in this business for the right reason,
Yes.
right? You want to make money, yes. But if you learn to care for people, it'll actually change your life. Like that story changed me more than it changed them.
Wow. Well, that was amazing.
Yeah, I planned that answer. She just asked me that in advance. No, that's it.
Wow, that was.
But Marianne was pretty
so
awesome too. I'll
impactful.
tell you that one someday down the
So
road.
impactful. Well, I want to ask you like 2 more questions. One is, how do you balance work and personal family life as a really busy agent? You are not just agent, but business owner, doing all kinds of different things, keynote speaker.
Yep.
You travel
very
a
busy.
lot. Yeah.
Yep.
Tell us, how do you prioritize the important stuff?
So, 2019, I almost had a nervous breakdown. I was stressed beyond my capacity. Now, I feel stressed now. I get stressed, okay? Right now has been a really crazy season. I get stressed, okay? It's just normal human nature. But it was to the point then where I was a workaholic, and I was working myself to death, basically.
Wow.
My wife called me out on it one night, sitting on our bathtub, crying, said, "You're a workaholic and you need help." I went through a counseling process with a Christian counselor that changed my life, spoke some perspective into my life that I absolutely needed to hear at that time. And I had a coach at that time, Pam Ehrman. I don't know if Pam Ehrman will ever hear this, but Pam Ehrman spoke into my life so much as my coach during that time as well. Pam said to me one time, she said, "Mark, when you have an appointment with your family, it is a more important appointment than a business appointment. So if a client calls you and said, 'Hey, I absolutely need to get into this house. I'm sorry, I can't show you at that time. I have an appointment, but can you do this time?'" She encouraged me, never miss one of your kids' events, never miss, the opportunity to be there for your family.
Yep.
And so today, I would say, Elizabeth, if we brought my wife in here, she would say, "Yeah, Mark gets stressed, but he's very present when he's with the family." And it's because I learned that is my most important appointment. I also learned that I don't have to answer the phone after 7 o'clock, which is another Pam Ehrman thing. She told me, "Tell your clients up front, this is how I communicate. I'm fully available to you until 7 o'clock. If there's an emergency after 7 o'clock, text me, emergency, and I will call you." Well, when you tell a client that, they realize, I've never had anyone text me emergency, but they realize that a lot of things can be handled tomorrow, that they're not truly emergencies tonight. And so setting that boundary up front has been another really good thing. So there you go.
That's awesome. Okay, I have one more.
Last one. Here we go.
Okay.
Run a little long, but that's okay.
After all these years, what keeps you in this industry? I feel like we've heard it.
Yeah,
but
you've
what
heard it.
keeps you in
It is the people. It really is. I love people so much. Now owning a brokerage and not just owning a brokerage, this podcast, I don't get to see you in this podcast. That's one of the things that I think is a little bit hard sometimes because I'm talking to a camera and I don't get to see impact on your lives. But when I go and do a keynote somewhere, when I go and teach a continuing education class, I had a kid come back to me, young guy in the industry, come back to me recently. He was like, "Man, I took your buyer presentation class." He said, "I've used that. And every time I pull out that buyer presentation, I land the client. And when I don't, I don't." Yeah. And he said, "Thank you so much for teaching me this." And like that kind of stuff drives me to see other people be successful.
That's awesome.
And so whether it's an agent in my company, it's someone that attends one of my keynotes or continuing education classes, I love seeing them be successful. Now, I'm still in the trenches selling real estate. I love seeing my clients be successful too. I sold a dream home. It was a $1.25 million dream home recently, right? I sell a lot of first-time home buyers. I love that because I love that a young person, most of the time a young person in our market, first-time home buyers tend to be younger, but I love to see them make that first great real estate decision. But But when I get to be part of the dream home,
Mm-hmm.
like where it's like, this is what we've always dreamed of, man, there's something special about that. Like selling the family, the farm, or, selling that upside, that custom build.
Yeah.
That's the thing where I get to be a part of the dream for a client. It just like gets me so excited, So, so that said, though, it's all about the people and seeing people be successful in their dreams.
Absolutely. It'll always be all about the people.
Yep.
Well, this was great. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today.
Yep.
And we have our podcast on all the different streaming platforms that we mentioned before, YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. And we want you guys to come and check us out another time. So we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thanks for being with us.